I'm going to say.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Effective Resume Thursdays. We're very, very glad you're with us. It's November 19th. It's like a beautiful day out here in the DFW area. Just please note, this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. For those people on Zoom, we ask that you use the speaker view, which is in the lower left-hand corner. And where that red arrow is, if you're on a PC or Mac, you can grab it and you can slide it back and forth to make the speaker as big or as small as you like, whatever aspect ratio you'd like to use. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just use the chat box. We will be using that throughout the presentation. And for those people on Facebook, just enter your questions if you have them into the comment field, and I will make sure that we get those questions answered as I am monitoring that feed. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. It's hard to believe 12 years ago on Tuesday, I founded Career DFW. Career DFW was launched just to help people in the DFW area in their job search. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. You can get it on Amazon for 15 bucks, or I have it for $10 if you want to drive by the house and I'll fling it to you out the window. You can fling me out $10 and I'll fling you a book in your window. I also facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I've been doing that since 2007, and I'll tell you about our programming, very interesting program tomorrow at the end of this presentation. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, today we've got two speakers who are going to be with us, Brickel, who's a certified professional career coach, and Locke Alderson, many of you know, who's, I'm sure you've seen him at Frisco Career Transition Workshop, and Locke also is a presenter on LinkedIn Tuesdays. So thank you all for being with us, and take it away.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeff, for that introduction, and welcome to everyone who has joined in. And in the session today, we will be reviewing a resume live from anybody in the audience, and we've received one, and we do have room to review a second one. So if anybody wants to send me their resume in chat as an attachment, you can take out your contact information at the top of your resume if you wish to remain anonymous. And that's everyone's favorite part of the session. When we review that. But first we'll present some information, and it's wonderful to have Locke here. And no, it's not Tuesday. He often presents on Tuesdays for the LinkedIn session. And he and I have worked together. We've presented a LinkedIn session for another organization. And he said, Carol, I could also help with the resume. I said, great. And so we're really glad he's here. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, share my slides. In slideshow mode here. There we go. Okay. So the first thing I'd like for everyone to do is to click on participants to open up the participant box. Let's see, we've got a good group here today, and we also have people watching on Facebook Live. So welcome to everyone. And when you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my second monitor where I have my participant box and the chat box. And yay, thank you. I have received a second resume. So we have both resume slots filled up to review at the end of this session today. So that's wonderful. So I'd like for everyone to go into the participant box and give me a green check mark if you can hear my voice and see the screens okay. So everybody go in there and give a green check mark if you can see that. Okay, good, good. And I'm going to clear that and ask another question. And what I'd like you to do is, thank you. And what I'd like you to do is give me a green check mark if you've seen one of our Resume Thursday sessions once before, red X if you've never seen this Resume Thursday thing. Great, so we've got a mixture. We've got a lot of repeat people, so nice to have you back. That's great. We try to mix it up every time and have either different content or different guest speakers. And there are some basic things we review every time. And then we always review a new resume every time. So that's great. Okay. And then we also use the chat box, pretty frequently as well. As you know, we like to keep these fun and interactive. So to get us warmed up, have a chat question for everyone. If you could go into the chat box and type in an answer or a few keywords regarding this question. Do you typically make any modifications to your resume when you apply for a job? So when you're applying for a job online, do you typically make any modifications or changes to your resume? You could type yes, no, or type in the types of changes you make. Yes. And somebody said almost always, somebody said sometimes, and a couple say yes. Good. Yes, for every opportunity. And we do highly recommend that, and we'll point out how to do that. So as a career coach, when I coach people say, oh, I don't have time to spend hours doing this. And I show them the process, and we'll show you the process of what you need to modify in your resume. And it really should just take a few minutes. And it's quite important. Good. So by way of background, many of you know I've worked as a hiring manager for many years. I worked for an IT firm called EDS that was acquired by Hewlett-Packard. Worked there for many years and took early retirement in 2012 during a time when there were a lot of people that had been laid off. A lot of my friends had been laid off. So I wanted to get a job as a recruiter so I could really understand how the hiring process works. And it worked out to be a wonderful experience. I've worked both in agency environments and corporate environments. And I placed candidates in a variety of different roles: accounting, finance, HR, sales, a lot of different roles. And I learned a lot by walking a mile in the shoes of an agency recruiter and a corporate recruiter, and I've been a hiring manager. And I also volunteer for the Dallas Pit Crew and do one or two of those interview panels every week. And that's a wonderful, valuable opportunity. So if you're working on updating your resume, you should also work on practicing your interview skills and practicing answering those questions out loud with somebody. Highly recommend that. And it's real simple. You just have to send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. That's dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and send your resume and a target job description. We'll get you set up with a panel and do a panel interview and then give you some feedback. And we've posted the Pit Crew information in the chat box, so you can download that. And I'm certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And that was a fun process. Went through a training program, talked to a mentor, and then took a 70-question essay test, which for somebody who really likes career coaching stuff, it was really fun for me. I enjoyed that. And I'm really pleased that Locke Alderson is joining us today. And so Locke, if you'd like to share your background with everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I spent 42 years in recruiting and HR. Some of the companies include Continental Airlines, Litton Data Systems, Rockwell Microelectronics out in California. Here in Texas, I was with Mostec before they went out of business in '83, and had my own recruiting firm for 12 years. Then went to work for E-Systems, which merged into Raytheon. And then when that happened, I moved over to Siebel, which was a spin out from Oracle. And then Oracle bought Siebel, and I went over to Oracle for 4 years before I retired. I've been doing volunteer work and career transition with people looking for jobs since 2001. In 2013, I got approached by Mullen International out of New York saying, you've been doing this as a volunteer, would you like to try it on a contract for 90 days? Well, that contract lasted for 4 years and 90 days before Mullen sold out to Lee Heck Harrison. They laid off all the staff in their Dallas office for Mullen, and then a month later, I was picked up by Lee Heck Harrison and retired from them last December. Well, that's my background. In addition to being a recruiter, I've also been a job hunter on at least 4 or 5 occasions, and I've been a career counselor. So I have the perspective of looking at resumes from that of a job hunter, from a career coach, and from that of a recruiter. So that's me, Carol.
That's great. Yeah, so you provide a lot of different perspectives. As you mentioned, as a looking for a job, being a coach, recruiter in both corporate and agency environments. And one thing before we got started with the broadcast, Locke and I were talking about that when you share your resume with 5 different people, you'll get 5 different opinions and perspectives regarding your resume. And when you get those perspectives or opinions, it's based on our experiences. And so your job as a participant in this workshop is to kind of listen to all the different perspectives and then choose what works best for you. You know, for your situation, it may depend on the situation that you're interviewing for. So you'll hear lots of different perspectives, and it's your job just to figure out what works best for you, or try several different strategies. Do whatever works to, you know, get you the most leverage. And I've, you know, also recently retired from recruiting, but I keep very close in touch with my colleagues at Next Step Recruiting, and I occasionally do webinars for them as well. And they keep me posted on the hot jobs that they have open. And they're always looking for great HR people and accounting, finance people, and also roles like payroll manager, billing, marketing types of roles, and again, even HR. And then some of their clients are looking for recruiters. So if you meet any of these requirements, or if you have an accounting background or HR background, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can get you connected with a really great recruiter there. And one way or another, I encourage you to reach out to an agency recruiter, because they can be a great resource for you to provide feedback to you from their perspective about your resume and their perspective about the current state of the job market. And Next Step has done a great job finding companies that are ramping up now, because some industries aren't ramping up as much, like in hospitality and travel, but some industries, especially in IT and medical, are really ramping up. And in fact, at Next Step Recruiting, they've placed more people in the last 3 months than they placed in the prior year. So, so they're really ramping up. And so if you want to be connected with a recruiter, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I can get you set up with somebody. And then here's our agenda today. We'll cover, kind of review some information regarding applicant tracking systems. And then Locke will share his secrets about your resume from an insider perspective. So that'll be very valuable. And then I'll review key components of a resume from a formatting perspective. And then we'll look at a couple sample resumes, and thank you to the 2 people that have already submitted theirs for us to review. And that's a favorite part of the session for everyone. So to get started, a word about applicant tracking systems. I'll ask people to go into chat if you know the name of any applicant tracking systems. So if you happen to know the name of any systems, go ahead and type that into chat. And what these systems do is when you apply online, they're reading the data in your resume and parsing that data and putting it in the database. So they're pulling out your name and the titles, the dates that you're with certain companies. And some of these systems are, Workday is a big ERP system, but it has an applicant tracking component, and also Taleo, iCIMS, or a couple of other applicant tracking systems. And Locke, you might know of some other ones as well. I don't know.
It's been a while since I've used, but Taleo is the one that's most readily available.
Yeah, it's been around a while. Yeah, a lot of people have used Taleo, yes.
But the applicant tracking systems have actually been around for about 25 years now. So.
Right, right. And the one thing about these applicant tracking systems, when they're parsing the data, they can get thrown off by special characters and special formatting. So you don't want to have any special boxes or even special bullet points. And I know with Workday, I have a buddy that works over at Workday. Even if you use a hot link, like on your email or LinkedIn URL, if it's a hot link, it can throw off the reading of the rest of the data. So you do have to make sure it's just kind of a clean from any special formatting. And also don't type anything into the header or footer in MS Word. It won't read that. But you do want to make sure it aligns to the job description. And you can use tools like jobscan.co. That's not a typo, it is CO. It's an online tool where you can compare your resume to a job description to see how good of a match you are. And when you're applying online, you can upload your resume as an attachment. And when you do that, you can upload that one as a PDF version to preserve the formatting for the recruiter that'll be looking at it if you'd like.
One thing about that, Carol, in terms of that, the most desired format for applicant tracking systems is Word or simply a text file. because some of the applicant tracking systems don't recognize PDF. So just to be aware of that.
Yes, that's absolutely true, especially with Workday. Workday has a hard time with PDF systems. And so when you're uploading it, MS Word or text is best. Your attachment can be, when you upload it as an attachment for the recruiter to look at, that can be a PDF. And then also you can upload a cover letter if you wish. And this is a question I'm curious, Locke, when you were working as a recruiter, did you look at many cover letters?
I always did, but I was kind of an exception as a recruiter. Most of the cover letters don't get read simply because they're too long. Think about when you get email in the morning, you look at the subject line and the sender line, and you make a decision on it based on that. Well, that's basically the same thing that's going on with cover letters. And I had a cover letter from somebody that I was working with as a consultant, and she sent me her cover letter. Her background is in corporate communications. The middle section of her cover letter was 5 paragraphs. It's just too long. People don't take the time to read it.
Right. Good. Thank you. And then also regarding ATS systems, you might hear different perspectives because each system is different. And then each company, when they implement it, they can configure it differently. So you might hear different things about applicant tracking systems, whether they can read PDFs or not, or if the live hot links in a resume will throw them off. But what you want to do is just kind of keep the big picture in mind and just try to upload a resume that has no special formatting. And then if you have the chance, like if it's Workday, you can have the opportunity to review the information that's been uploaded in the database to make sure it's clean. And the biggest piece of advice is don't just rely on the ATS system, because if you just apply online and just sit back and hope to get called for an interview, your chances are very slim. I used to say it was like 5% or so when I was a recruiter, 5% chance that I'd call you for an interview based on looking at 300 resumes in the system. And I read a statistic, 2% chance. So you really need to do an extra step. Contact a person, either somebody you know at the company that can forward your resume over to the recruiting organization, or reach out to a recruiter or a recruiting leader. Sometimes you'll hear, especially from agency recruiters who think of corporate recruiters as kind of their competition, to reach out to the hiring manager. If you can try that. I will say when I worked as a corporate recruiter, the hiring managers would get irritated and they'd come down the hall and give me the resumes and say, Carol, I got another one. Can you screen this person for me? So, so you maybe try all of the above. And Locke, I'm curious, since you've walked a mile in all these shoes, what do you recommend to people when they apply online for a job at a company and want to reach out to a person? What do you recommend?
Apply as many ways as you can. Try as many avenues. Employee referral, linking up with somebody on LinkedIn, might send a FedEx envelope or a UPS box. Registered letters have to be signed for, so somebody has to sign for it when they get that. Just some different ways, because most resumes now come on the internet.
Yeah. So try multiple things. And what I found as a recruiter, both agency and corporate, if I got a phone call and somebody said, I just applied for your job and I meet all of the requirements, I'm like, that would get my attention. So be sure you tell them not that you're excited about the job, you're pleased to submit your resume, but that you meet the requirements specifically, and then mention a couple things. And
that's very important. You mentioned that you meet all the requirements. If you don't, do not say that, please.
Yes.
There was a question earlier about if you don't know anybody at the company, I suggest going to one of the LinkedIn webinars on Tuesday of how do you find people at companies. I know in my presentation, how do you find people at company? In your presentation we did together was how do you find a recruiter at a company? And
right.
You can't find everybody. You can probably find 75, 80% of the people who handle recruiting or talent acquisition in a company.
Yeah. And I do recommend those Tuesday LinkedIn webinars. And basically the short thing is go to the company's page on LinkedIn, and then on the left side, click on people. And then you can search for talent acquisition or recruiting and look for a leader. If you don't know the name of the recruiter, look for a leader because they probably have a little more time to listen to your message and get you with the right recruiter. So that's a shorthand version. So thank you for that question. Good. And so now, Locke, if you'd like to share your insider secrets.
Okay. Well, the first thing is it says up there, your resume is really a piece of advertising. It's designed to get them to call you. That was a point that Tony Bashir covered last week in his call. It needs to have your contact information, your phone number and email. It can't be in a header or a footer, and you need to make sure that they're right, because I have a tendency to transpose digits. So make sure that the phone numbers are correct. It's got to be easy to read, and by that I mean it has to be at a level that a high school graduate can read. It also has to be scannable, meaning that you don't want to use templates, text boxes, or fancy fonts. I suggest Arial, Calibri, Cambria, New Times Roman, or Tahoma are some of the better fonts that you can use. They're recognized by most of the applicant tracking software. One of the problems that you find if you use a fancy font, it may not be recognized by the applicant tracking system because they may not have purchased that option to use all the fonts like Microsoft Word. You need to have a headline. Think about when you go to the movies, when you used to do that. And if the title of the movie wasn't on the marquee out there, you probably wouldn't go there to go to see that movie. Well, you need a headline. What's the job title that you're applying for? Because that's one of the criteria that an applicant tracking software does, will match the job requirements when a recruiter does a search. Will match the job title with your job title on your headline and in the body of your resume. You should have a summary. And a summary basically is a brief overview of your resume. You think, well, why do I need that? Well, recruiters spend 6 to 10 seconds looking at your resume. So you want to have something at the top of your resume that's easy to read and includes your duties, maybe your areas of expertise or the companies that you've worked for and what you've done. And then follow that up with a couple of bulleted accomplishments that tell how well you performed those duties. And those bulleted accomplishments need to support the headline. And those are the three: the headline and your bullets may be the ones that you change to customize your resume. Your resume needs to say who you worked for and what they did. If it's not well known, put a one-line descriptor of what the company is known for. When I worked for MasTec, it was the world's leading producer of random access memories. Okay, they went out of business in '83, but that was their tagline that they had. You need to say who you worked for and what they did. That's what I'm talking about. You need to use keywords from the posting and in your summary and duties. Again, those are important because keywords are one of the things recruiters search for. And you need to proofread your resume. And by that, I mean you can use spell checker and grammar, but there's words like managed, which often comes up manger. If you don't spell it right, or manager is manger. So sometimes they'll pass the spell checker, but aren't the right word that you want to use. Back to you, Carol.
Well, that is just a perfect summary. I really appreciate you sharing all of that. And somebody's asking about copies of the presentation. And I know we post this, we record it on Career DFW. So, and if you want, you can take a snapshot of this slide if you want. That might be a good thing to do, because this is a really good summary based on a lot of experience here. And I've seen people, spend a lot of time on their resume doing all these things correct, but if you don't proofread it, that can really be an issue, or even just double check the spacing. Because I would say as a recruiter, 95% of the resumes I looked at had some sort of issue. Locke, in your experience in looking at resumes, what percentage of the resumes you looked at do you think had some sort of either error, typo, spacing issue?
Well, the ones that made it through the applicant tracking software, and applicant tracking software is really designed to weed out resumes. You might think of it, it's also designed to find the nuggets that match the job requirements. But I would say 75 to 80% of the resumes that get submitted get rejected by the applicant tracking software. Those that get through and actually get looked at by a person, there's probably another 10, 15, 20% that have some kind of error in it. The misspelled words, hiring managers have said, I don't want somebody to misspell or does a spell check because my job is too important.
Exactly. Yeah, they want attention to detail, and that's your way of representing it. Good. And so the goal of your resume is to make it easy for the applicant tracking systems and the screeners and the recruiters to see that you're a good match for a job. And so like Locke mentioned, have that headline at the top of your resume so I can see what kind of person you are as a recruiter. And you want the formatting to be clean with lots of white space and easy to read. And we'll show you a format here. And overall length, as I've interviewed and talked to various recruiters and asked people, I hear that 2 pages is kind of the sweet spot. There might be some exceptions, longer resumes for highly technical or government jobs. Locke, what do you recommend for people that have been, have maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years of professional experience? What do you think is a good length for a resume?
Well, I think two pages is a desired length. It can go longer than that. I have a friend that has a 7-page resume, and people that see his resume read it all the time because it's so well written. But that's an exception rather than the rule.
That is an exception. And that sounds like more like a master resume. Sometimes people keep a master resume, and I'm not sure if I get that slide in, we talk about it occasionally, that you keep a master resume with all of your experience. And so you have it all in one place, and then you can pull from it as you're applying for jobs. And then I often get the question, how many years of experience should you show in your resume, especially people like me that have over 38 years of experience? How much should you show? And there are different options. And I think we have a little polling question we can put out to people. We don't have, okay, don't have a polling question. So what I'd like for people to do is go into chat and type in A, B, or C. Which of these options kind of resonates for you? Because you do have to kind of make your own personal choice. Do you like a version of your resume that shows all of your experience? That's what I did actually when I was applying for a job at the age of 59, and I had 38 years, but people knew I'd been at EDS for a long time. So I just put it all out there. So go into chat and type A, B, or C about which one of these options that you use for your resume. And
Carol and Locke, we have a question here on Facebook. I thought, wow, people are putting A, B, or C.
Good.
Joanna asked, how do you convince a friend to provide you the information when they see it as their private information and won't? So, I think you can't really convince somebody to do something they don't want to do, if they want to help you or they don't want to help you. But
right. That's probably, but a lot of times if you ask somebody to help get their resume into the hands of the recruiter or the hiring manager, a lot of companies have employee referral programs where there's some money invested. They might get a bonus. I know when I was with Siebel, it was $2,500 if we hired a Siebel candidate, somebody recommended, and they lasted for 90 days.
Well, that'd be a great suggestion then. So, find out if the company does have a hiring bonus. Hey, you could make some money if you help me out here. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then also make it real easy for that person to forward your information. Like in your email to that person, say, hi, I just applied for your blah, blah, blah position. I meet all of the requirements, specifically, boom, boom, boom. Could you please forward my resume to the recruiting manager? And then all they have to do is forward that email and the attachment, and it's easy. So make it easy for them. Good. So yeah, so thank you for the audience. You've selected a variety of options. Some people selected B, and that's to show only the last 10, 15 years and then cut it off. Or C, show details about the most recent 10 to 15 years, and then have a section that says prior relevant experience. And you can list the company names and the titles, and you don't have to put the dates on your resume.
In fact, don't put the dates. Use that format. If you have any highlights or accomplishments in that earlier period, you may want to include those just as a one-line bulleted item.
Right. And I found as a recruiter, if somebody chopped off their experience after 10 years, just the most recent 10 years, and then in an interview, in fact, this happened this past week in a practice interview with somebody, they kept referring to something that wasn't on their resume at all. And it just caused all sorts of confusion. So it's really, I found as a recruiter, and when I was presenting resumes to hiring managers, they preferred option C. They like to see the most recent information, but also see what other companies you work for. So they felt like they were getting the full picture and nothing was being hidden. So And
the other thing I'll comment about that to keep it down to 2 pages is to keep your experience section, each job that you've had, keep it to 3 or 4 lines max. Because if they don't want, a whole paragraph, 10 or 15 lines on each job that you've had, because that'll eat up a lot of space in a hurry.
it sure does. Yes, good. So now we'll talk through key components of a resume. There might be other components as well, like certifications or publications or things, but these are some of the most common. So we'll walk through all these, which is a review for most people. And so the top of your resume, you want to have your heading information with your name front and center, and these 4 types of contact information. And I'm hearing more and more from recruiters, they like to see your LinkedIn URL. You don't want to make it a hot link on your resume, just type in the text, and no physical address, please. You do not need to do that anymore. And then, as Locke mentioned, having that title front and center. And so that way a recruiter looks at it and goes, oh, good, this is the type of person I'm looking for. And
one reason to do that, Carol, is because sometimes recruiters are working with 25 or 30 different openings. I know when I was with Oracle, fortunately, a lot of the jobs had the same. I was looking for maybe 50 of the same kind of people, but those are 2 different aspects of a recruiter's job. One that has multiple openings versus one who has 1 opening with multiple candidates that can be hired.
Right. And that's why they can keep track of them. So you want to say who you are and what kind of job you're applying to. Now, if you're doing a career change, you may have to be a little more creative about that and talk to a career coach about that. That also came up this past week in one of our mock interviews where somebody was making kind of a career change and they put a title at the top of the resume, but they'd never done that work before. And so that gets a little dicey and you have to be a little more creative. But you do want to have a good summary that describes who you are as a professional, leveraging some of those keywords from the job description. And then as a recruiter, I also like to see areas of expertise. And this is where you can type in some additional keywords that are easy to see at a glance. And you want to make sure these top keywords are the ones in the first column align to the job. And as great. And as Locke mentioned, also, and I say this can be optional, but it's a good thing to do to highlight key accomplishments that you've done in the job. And especially if you've been in sales or business development or things where they're looking for things that are quantifiable, or you've met certain targets, to highlight those major key accomplishments from your career.
Well, those accomplishments can be at the top, the section under key accomplishments. They can also be embedded in your resume under the job where they occurred. It's okay to repeat them.
Yes, good. And in your professional experience, yes, after hearing Tony speak last week, I added this note. Tony Bashara from Babbage and Associates, he highly recommends, as Locke did as well, to include a 1-line description of the company on your resume and under the professional experience. And you want to make this section very clean, easy to read. As Locke mentioned, just try to have 3 or 4 bullets. I say 5 or so, but minimize the number of bullets. I have seen resumes where they put 10 or 15 and nobody's going to read those.
Well, the danger with having too many bullets, in the 6 to 10 seconds, you're asking the recruiter, telling them all about you, but which of the bullets do you really want them to pay attention to? So I like, rather than having all bullets, I like a mix of narrative, where you have 2 or 3 sentences describing your duties, and then 2 or 3 bullets describing your accomplishments. Nothing wrong with either format, but again, think about it. When you have all bullets, which ones am I supposed to pay attention to? Right.
Good. And so I said 5 to 8. I may modify this. I might make it less than that. And they should focus on results, these bullets. And it shouldn't just sound like a job description. As Locke mentioned, you might have some about your responsibilities, but really focus on those accomplishments. And how many people, give me a green check mark if you've heard us talk about the so what game, to read your bullet points and try to turn them into more results. Okay, good. So I just see one person has has done this. And I do this a lot when I'm coaching people on their resume. And here's a real example where they had a bullet point that just kind of read as just a task or responsibility, but they wanted to make it more results oriented or really focus more on an accomplishment. And this was the actual text. They had a bullet point that said they developed a Visual Basic program to automate the conversion of data, which is kind of cool. But I said, so what was the accomplishment, or what was the result of this, or what was the outcome? And the person thought for a moment, and there really was kind of an outcome. It resulted in reducing the data migration time, eliminating errors, and increasing the stakeholder confidence. So what he ended up doing and then was rewriting that bullet point to start with those stronger verbs that focus more on the results and the outcomes. So he rewrote it to say he reduced the data migration time, eliminated errors, and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So that's a way that you can make your bullet points more impactful. And then often we get the question, or I see this as an issue on resumes, where I take a glance, and as Locke mentioned, we only spend maybe 5 to 10 seconds looking at a resume. And if I see somebody with dates, like new dates for a job every couple of years, I'll think, oh, they're a job hopper. But then when I study it, I can say, oh, they worked at the same company. So what we recommend, if you've had multiple roles within a company, put to the right the full dates that you're at that company, so it shows the longevity. And then for the dates that you had the jobs, just put those in parentheses next to those job titles. And then what that does is it shows your longevity with the company, and it shows the progression, and actually tells a nice story that maybe you were promoted. And so that's a much better way of telling the story on your resume. And then if you've had a company like I did that changed names, there are a couple different options that you can do. The current name of the company followed by the old name, or the old name, possibly with the date of the merge or acquisition. And for example, with my resume in 2012, I had worked for EDS that was acquired by Hewlett Packard, and it became Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services. So on my resume, I had the current name, Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services, formerly EDS, or I could have said EDS, which was acquired by Hewlett Packard. So there's different ways.
One thing to be aware of when you do that is if you have two company names, don't have a backslash between them. Leave a space on either side of the backslash, because otherwise that name of the company will not be searchable as a term if they're looking for somebody from Hewlett Packard.
Yes, exactly. And what I did, and I'm curious what you think about this, Locke, I said Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services, and then in parentheses, formerly EDS, parentheses.
That's
so
acceptable too.
Yeah. I don't know if I heard. Okay, I think that worked. Okay. And then you want to be sure to have your education and often software skills on your resume, especially if the job you're applying for requires certain software skills, even Microsoft Excel. If they require it, go ahead and put it on your resume. You'll get extra points. And if they say we want somebody with Excel and can do pivot tables and VLOOKUPs, include that as well.
One caveat that you have right here before we get to that, flip back to the education. If you do not have the degree, do not say on your resume that you have the degree. That you can have like 120 hours toward a BA in physics, or something of that description. And quantify what you've done. 3 years of study in psychology. Well, those are the kinds of things. But don't say you have the degree if you don't have it, because it is grounds for dismissal at some companies. And I've had to fire people that falsify the information about their academic training a couple of times.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I've seen somebody get fired for that. And I've seen resumes as a recruiter where somebody said it said bachelor's. I said, so did you get your degree? And they said, no, I was just in the program. Don't do that. Yeah, just put, and I like the way you said that, Locke. So if they've studied, let's say, psychology for 3 years, what would you recommend they say on the resume?
Studied psychology for 3 years. or
Yeah, yeah.
completed 3 years of study in psychology.
Completed, yeah, I like that.
Completed 90 units, or how many hours? My son almost has a degree. He has 125 units, hours, but he doesn't have a degree, okay?
Yeah.
So a lot of the jobs he's applying for don't require the degree, but if you say you have it, they may hold you to it, and it's grounds for termination.
Absolutely. That's really a great way. I like the way you worded that, because some people struggle with, if I put the dates that I was there, if I didn't complete, and that gets around it, just to say 3 years of study. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. You've earned your keep today, Locke. You're adding great value. Okay, so this is one of my favorite slides. I don't know if you've seen this one, Locke, that I like to do. What we do here is show a job description and highlight the keywords, because every time you apply for a job online, we highly recommend take a few minutes to look at the keywords in the job description and then update your resume to align to those keywords. That way you'll get more points and you'll get more to the top of the stack in the electronic stack of resumes that the recruiters are looking for. And it will catch the eye more of the recruiter that might be looking at your resume as well. So be sure.
One additional point, Carol has just pointed that out. When a recruiter does a search in their database, words that are highlighted in yellow may be the search terms that the recruiter has used. The more of them that you have in there, you can see how they're highlighted on the resume to the right.
Absolutely. And often I have to teach people to, read the full resume and look down to this bottom section. It might say, here's what you need to bring to the job, or requirements or qualifications. Really look at that, because they'll give you things that they're really looking for that are requirements for the job. And be sure you have that highlighted on your resume if you have those experiences. So that is extremely important. So good. Okay. So clear that. And now for the fun part of our, I'm going to stop sharing now and move over to share the screens of the resumes. Okay, I can find them. Let's see. Okay, there we go. New share. Here we go. New share. I have to click a few things to get this to share. I remember who came first. I'll do first come, first serve. Okay.
Notice one thing right there, Carol, that you mentioned. One of those is a PDF file and one of them is Word. So that's just something to be aware of.
Yes, yes. And for this session, it's good to do the PDF so we can see it the way you want to format it. But once again, when you're uploading into your applicant tracking system, you want to be in Word format. Okay. So somebody has raised their hand. If you had a comment, go ahead and type it into, if you want to type it into chat, or if you want to be taken off mute, let us know. And what we're going to do here, yes. Somebody have a comment?
Yeah, Carol.
Yes.
It's concerning your comments about PDF. On some of the, I guess, data entry systems where you put your resume in and so forth, it will usually say whether they accept a PDF or they accept Word doc. If they accept a PDF on their application system, is it safe to assume that their ATS will accept it?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so. I do know Workday won't, though. So if you see that it's Workday, but yet they're saying, yeah, be careful. So okay. Probably okay. Good question.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
And usually, I guess what I've seen is when they upload it, then they show how they parsed it, and you have a chance to make corrections.
Yes. Yes.
So, that's a sophisticated system where they've turned on all the bells and whistles. But even if they buy the one with all the bells and whistles, they may not turn them on. So you need to be aware of that. A good point, Jeff.
Very good. Very good.
Appreciate it.
So what we will do right now is I'm going to scroll down this resume, and I'd like for everyone to take a look at it. And those in the audience, if you see things you like, feel free to type in a few words in the chat box.
We don't see that, Carol, so I don't know if you have
Oh,
it
you can't
up.
see it yet. Oh, okay.
We haven't opened it up yet.
Okay. I have to click on the new share.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Sometimes I have to click new share again, so I'm not sure. You'd think after how many times have we done this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down it, and those in the audience, if you want to type in a few keywords about what you like, and if you see any suggestions for improvement, feel free to type in a few keywords. And so I'm going to scroll down for a moment. We've got our summary section, expertise, career summary, dates to the right, company names, and titles or something, companies, okay. Education, and a whole bunch of patents. Wow, and some certifications. Okay. We'll be honest with you, Jeff, and we'll be gentle. Well, first impression is I like the font. It's very clean, and I like the white space. Your name, contact information, the LinkedIn hot link could.
I fixed it.
Okay, that's great. You're a quick learner.
And you don't need to tell somebody that's LinkedIn, because if they can't figure it out, you know, you don't need to put those. That's just extra words that you don't need.
Yeah, you can take that off. Yes, yes. And project engineer, inventor, and project leader with international experience, you would want to modify that. Like if you're just applying for a project manager position, you would just put project manager probably.
Use the title of the posting, you know, whatever the posting title is, because I mean, it may be project manager, it may be something else.
Yes.
And again, I haven't seen, as a recruiter for over 40 years, I haven't seen too many jobs where I'm looking for inventor. That was part of the job, but doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I was looking for.
Right.
My search
right.
term.
And that's just a lot of words. You want it to jump out and shine like a headline, like Locke said. And then here's an opening summary statement. I kind of like 3 lines. How long do you like these to be, Locke?
I say anywhere from 3 to 6 lines, it doesn't matter. But the thing that I would, and he's got in areas of expertise, he's called it something different. I'd put in a couple of bulleted accomplishments between his areas of expertise and his summary. And the reason that you want to do that, have a couple of bulleted accomplishments. What did you do? So what? The so what results that contribute to the headline. So if you were a project engineer and managed $1 million project with 50 people on it, or a $10 million project, or it's a software project where you had so many lines of code, or you were working with electronic systems, or whatever you were doing, that's the kind of thing that you want to put in there, because that's where that first 3 lines, the top of the headline, is where you tend to look for things. And you've got a lot of bullets there. It's a little busy on the bullets. Okay, you've got about 15 of them. Nothing wrong with that, because it says what you did. But remember, it's not about you, it's about the reader. You make it easy for the reader to say, to meet their needs, not your needs.
Yes.
Choose some of those, as Carol said, have that master resume, and maybe select that down to some different things.
Yeah,
it's okay to pull some of those that are under the areas of expertise and up as bulleted accomplishments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, either bulleted accomplishments or bulleted areas of expertise. And then your technical specialties might be a separate section. So this is kind of apples and oranges. So it's expertise areas, which are kind of professional skills, and also software. So you may want a separate software or technical specialties section. And somebody asked about the frame around it. Could
do away with the text box.
Yeah.
It's a text box, and that box around your resume looks nice if you hand it to somebody, but it probably will cause some problems for the applicant tracking software.
Yeah. So, and
footer also, right?
I'm sorry?
Take out the footer also.
If you,
yes.
Footers are okay to say page numbers like that. There's nothing wrong with that if it's a footer, but you don't want your contact information in either a header or footer. You've just numbered the pages in case somebody prints it out and they get separated. They can identify whose resume it is. Because I know sometimes recruiters will do that and they have a shared printer. 3 or 4 recruiters may share a printer. It's a good idea to put that as a footer. You're correct.
And it's also confusing here for you to say Gordon Jeffrey Higgins when at the top it just says Jeff Higgins. So go by whatever you want people to call you. Don't keep it consistent.
Yes. And I've heard recruiters more recently say that the page numbering and name on a resume is a little bit old school because people are looking at them online. So again, you might get different perspectives. I've been telling them to keep it clean, just take it off, because most people are scanning them real quick and most recruiters are having to work from home. You know, so that's something. Okay.
And also you don't necessarily need to have the date, the month. You know, you can just have 2014 and 2020 because that'll clean it up and make it a little bit easier for the recruiter to see also.
Yes, yes. Okay.
The scanning systems that I've seen where they have, I guess, given you the opportunity to correct it also usually had a month. I don't know if they required that you put in a month, but they sometimes ask for it.
Right. Yeah, the applicant.
Well, yeah.
If they ask for it, give it to them. Otherwise, I'd go with annual dates.
Yeah, just for your resume. Yeah. Okay, good. And yeah, I would be a little careful about how much text and number of bullets. I would bring this down to 4 or 5, and then each bullet line 1 to 2.
What you may want to do is to take the duties and make that 3 or 4 lines and the rest of it bullets. That way it breaks it up from a readability standpoint.
Yes, good. Look at those patents. That's great. Okay, so lots of great, and somebody in the audience, a very talented individual. Yes, so you've got lots of great talents there. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free, Jeff, to reach out, and we're gonna have to move on. We just have a couple minutes left. I will share the next resume too. Okay, let's see if I can do this efficiently. Okay, I bring it up, and then I have to click new share. Word is taking a moment. Okay. And click new share. Can you see that okay?
Got it.
Okay, good, good. So once again, I'll scroll down. There's a summary section and some bullet points. And a job and some dates and some bullet points. A lot of TI stuff, okay. Certifications and education. Good, and all on 2 pages. Looking at this TI stuff, it looks like multiple roles within a company. So I would handle those dates differently. I would put TI, and on the line that you have TI, put 2001 to 2009. And then for the roles that you had, put those dates in parentheses right up next to those role names. Because otherwise it looks like you hopped from job to job. Okay.
Okay.
So starting at the top. Any comments?
Again, I'd pull an accomplishment or 2 if you're looking, if you have a particular project where you've been a Scrum Master or you've worked with Agile. Those are the things that you want to pull out and specifically. Put a couple of accomplishments between your project manager and your summary of qualifications. Mm-hmm. Again, those, what are you proudest of? What stands out in your mind? You know,
yeah.
You have a bunch of patents, say holder of 13 patents. You don't have to list them all, but that's one way to summarize that real quickly, but it stands out for somebody who's looking for somebody who's creative and inventive.
Yeah, and pick accomplishments that the hiring manager or the recruiter are looking for. Good.
And you can usually identify some of those things that they're looking for in your job description, where they're called qualifications or the ideal candidate will have. You can pull out 1 or 2 of those that are usually the ones that are key factors that they're looking for.
Good. And the summary of qualifications, it looks like you've picked really good keywords that probably align pretty well with the job descriptions you're applying for. And you can modify these or switch these around. Like if they're not looking for a servant leader or something, you can take that off. You can just move these around based on the requirements for the particular job. And I see you're with Boeing, and there's a lot of text here. I would make those more headlines of what you accomplished at those places. And okay.
It's more results.
Yes, more results. Okay.
It tells me what you did, but not the results.
Right. Yeah, you managed, projects included, collaborated.
Ask that so what question.
Right, right. And this is a lot of text here. Yes. So great resume, great experience, good summary here. I would work on these bullet points. And,
make it more readable.
yes.
What you're looking to do.
Right, right. Good. And you don't need to put your full address, just city, state, and zip. Good.
What about like Fujitsu and Bell Helicopter as you scroll on down? Do those summaries look okay?
Yeah, much better.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, those are shorter. Yes. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you to both people that have shared their resume today, and many thanks to Locke for sharing your wisdom from all the different roles that you've played. It's been very valuable. So thank you. I'll turn it back to Jeff.
Great. Thank you very, very much. All right. So Carol, Locke, thank you very much for being part of our presentation today. Today's the 151st workshop we've done since COVID got started. So thank you very much for being with us today. Tomorrow, I mentioned the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We have a very unique program, the psychological impact of the unemployed. Carol, do you want to talk about it just for a second? Tell us what you're going to be talking about.
Yes, and this is based on specific requests I received from clients that I've talked to, and also comments in some of the webinars. We have developed a session called the psychological impact of unemployment. And I'm not an expert on that. And so what I will be doing is interviewing an expert. So it'll be in an interview format, interviewing somebody who has a PhD in psychology and has been a grief counselor and a career counselor also for many, many years. And so it'll be a different format. It'll be different than what you usually see from me. It'll be an interview format, and then we'll also take questions from the audience, and we'll keep those questions private. People can send the questions to me in chat. I will not read anybody's names. And so it'll be a very impactful session. And so I hope anybody's on this call today that has an interest, in really talking about what it feels like to be unemployed and what are the normal patterns, and kind of also what are some warning signs and what to do about them. Or if you know other people that might benefit from it, feel free to invite anybody from all over the country or whatever. So thank you, Jeff.
Great, thank you. And the workshop will not be recorded, so you will not be able to see us after the event. It will be live on Facebook, but we will delete it after the Facebook event. After it's over, we'll delete it right away.
Yeah, thank you.
Just next week, we will not have any sessions the week of Thanksgiving, no LinkedIn, no interviewing, no resume. Take the week off, enjoy, have a enjoyable week next week. Coming up the first week of December, on December 1st, we'll pick back up again with LinkedIn Tuesdays. Terry Sullivan will be our speaker. And as you may or may not know, Terry does not allow his session to be recorded. So if you want to see his presentation, you'll need to watch it live. And then on Wednesday, December 2nd, Interviewing Wednesdays, during the month of November and December, we're doing a special guest speaker series as we completed our 13-part workshop. So this on December 2nd, we'll have interviewing with Gail Bridgman. Gail works for Lee Heck Harrison, and she also does the interviewing seminar at the Frisco Career Transition Workshop. So join us for that, and we'll be picking up that 13-part series again in January. We'll start back over with the interviewing workshops 1 through 13. This session was recorded. We'll be on the Career FW Facebook page, and it will be on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, every time either we post something or we go live, you'll get a little alert on your phone, and you'll know that we're presenting some great career information. If you go to YouTube and you want to see all the different events that are on there, click on playlist where the green arrow is, and up will come 6 or 7 different playlists that you can select from. Don't click on the video, but click underneath it where that red arrow is, which says View Full Playlist. And when you do that, you'll be able to see each of the sessions and the dates when we've recorded them. You'll be able to go through and pick those kinds of things out. So please remember, Career FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Locke is a volunteer, Carol's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid to do what I do. I just do this this is my charity to give back to everybody in the community. We survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you land your next job. It'll be greatly appreciated so we can continue to do the kinds of things we're doing every week right now. If your company happens to make matching donations, please look us up on the list. Allow your donation to double in value. And if you don't see our name on the list, please reach out to me and let me know, and I will get our name added as I've done in the past. So thank you very much for joining us today. Locke, thank you very much. Carol, thank you very much. Everybody have a great weekend or a great rest of the week.
Thanks, and bye, everyone.